All right, everybody. Round 2 is up next, and we have Garretz versus PatPat, and we're going to see PatPat a few times today, and we'll see whether or not PatPat is going to make it to the top cut. And by today, I do mean round 1 of Swiss for Duels of Runeterra 16. So this is going to be, however, round 2, Garretz versus PatPat. My name is Justin, also known as Shit Just Works. I casted this with Boulevard, as always, by my side. And if you guys are looking for tournament content, sub to the channel. Hit the like button on the video. Turn the bell on. This is going to be all the rounds for the rest of the tournament coming up next week. What are you doing? Subscribe. Let's see. Here's the video. Have we talked about Abyssal Eye in other decks?
How many times have I said I wanted to see it in things that aren't deep? I'm still surprised to see it.
We got it. And we're about to get started. So let's go ahead and head on into the game. This is a spicy matchup. Both of them are 1-0 as well. Gotta love to see it. Very excited to see PatPat here. So our POV is on the side of PatPat, and it looks like he is the one running the elusives that Boulevard just mentioned. And on the side of Garretz, we have that Soraka deck. I love the new win conditions they introduced. I love Maokai. Even though we haven't actually seen Maokai himself be a sole win condition, like the sole purpose of a deck. We've seen it, but it hasn't really been successful. It hasn't been successful though.
Yeah, it has. Swim won Twitch Rivals with
That's
it.
deep.
No, it wasn't deep. He was running mono Maokai to counter the Darrowing decks.
He was running mono. Oh, that deck. That was
That like garbage control.
Yeah, that was garbage.
Mono Maokai looks like.
That was no.
That's what a Maokai
No.
deck looks like.
I mean like straight up like P and Z Maokai, where you just try to draw into it and then like a win con.
Like turbo Maokai?
Like turbo Maokai.
That I think he played Thresh.
So
he might have played Thresh.
Star Spring actually is a win con that it seems like you can actually just get the win con pretty fast, and I like it. I like how they've introduced win cons without making them inherently broken, or at least Soraka doesn't seem broken yet. I will say, Astral Projection. Oh my god, I love this card. I think this card is insanely good.
I hate this card, dude. This card, I hate it so much.
You're crazy. You are crazy. I love this. What don't you like about it?
I don't play this shitty deck. I have to play against it. And I try to knock you guillotine something, and all of a sudden the Tom Kench has 10 HP.
God, what's wrong? You know what? Get off your TF Swain high horse and start playing some fun decks, Boulevard.
I will not play any new decks. I got burned when Call of the Mountain released. It took me like a whole 6 hours to realize that TF Swain was the deck. This time, no. Day 1.
This is why I can't grind for 4 hours, because I don't have the patience to play like a boring deck that everybody always plays. Like I want to play, Vaults of Helia. I want to play this new fun ephemeral stuff or whatever you got floating out there. No patience, man.
It's always a triangle meta day 1. You have the people trying new decks, the people playing aggro to beat the people playing new decks. I always just come in to play anti-aggro. I'll lose to the people with the new decks. That's fine. It's day 1. Have your fun. I'm here to punish the aggro players that are looking to pick on you.
that are impatient and looking to rank up fast, because that's usually what I want to rank up.
Which isn't necessarily what TF Swain was doing. So I did start off day 1 with like a Leona deck that was just there to be like full anti-aggro. But getting into this game, we are seeing. Oh man, I don't know.
Inspiring Mentor. This card.
No, I mean back. The card on the side of his opponent. What is
Krusty Codger.
Right, that's why I didn't say that card's name, because it is crusty and a different C word in my head, and I do not want to say that on cast.
Oh God, Boulevard. That's a banned word. I think it's banned in chat too.
It probably is, and that's why I'm gonna let you handle the Krusty Krab.
So the Krusty Krab. Oh, I like that too. SpongeBob reference. Can't go wrong with a SpongeBob reference. So, Krusty Krab gonna go ahead in for the attack. And Inspiring Mentor, though, I want to mention, because Inspiring Mentor, man, we saw this card everywhere when this game first released, and Freljord Elusives was a thing. Now, since it got buffed to only provide +1/+0 instead of +1/+1. It's seen far less play, but it still gets the job done, right? With elusives, you are just trying to be aggressive and deal that damage, so you really just need the attack.
Speaking of the attack, that's 8 damage coming in here on turn 3.
Yep.
And that is the power of the Green Glade duo alongside the Zed that did get buffed up by that Mentor. And this is not a matchup, I think, where the lack of health from the Inspiring Mentor is actually going to come into play.
Yeah, I don't... oh, yeah, that's... Wait, was it nerfed for the... Oh, sorry, I thought you meant health on the card itself, not the actual effect. Because it's always been a 2-1, right?
No, so it was a 1-2 that gave +1/+1.
Then it was a 1-1.
Then they... Or I think it was a 1-1 that gave +1/+1. Then they turned it into a 1-2 that gave +1/+0. Now it's a 2-1 that gives +1/+0.
That's right. There we go. Nailed it.
A lot of switching around with that card. It's always like those 1-1s that'll get you.
Yeah, no, it's well, and again, this is a tribute to Riot's game design. I like how they make multiple changes to get the card right. They're not afraid to do that. It's hard for us to remember all the changes, but at the end of the day, it works out.
All right, but we do have the Brokeback now on the side of his... Oh, man, he's got the local time up there instead of his opponent's name.
Did you just say Brokeback?
Yeah, the Brokeback Mountain Protector. I'm on a mission to just not call any of these cards by their correct names. We got Barrel Full of Monkeys. Yeah, we got the Krusty Krab. We got the Brokeback Mountain Protector. Jake Gyllenhaal coming out to Legends of Runeterra. Thank you, big man, for coming out here. And it looks like it is going to be able to block and take out the Zed thanks to that Astral Projection.
Whose idea was that movie anyways? God, that was
Brokeback Mountain?
terrible.
Someone who really wanted to win an Oscar.
But we do see a lot of damage coming in. So, wow, Garrett's already at 4. And we're on turn 5. This is what the power of elusives can do. I mean, we are going to get a lot of heal, though, from the broad-backed protector on the field. And this card, honestly, comboed with Soraka in Soraka decks, this is how you get that Star Spring win condition off. And on top of that, it not only gets you your win con, but it also keeps you alive. This card is great.
Ooh, that Citrus Courier is really big. Yeah. Not just for the heal on face, but for the heal onto the Broadback Protector. That's going to represent another turn that this card gets to survive.
But now here's the other question.
Not quite lethal.
Well, that was going to be my other thing, though, is, okay, I'm not sure why we would Concussive Palm now. I guess it's
I thought we were going to go for maybe an Inspiring Mentor into the Young Witch. This is damage that we can afford to take. We'll go down to 3, but then just try to race with elusives on the following turn. Any non-elusive unit that you're playing in your elusive deck is kind of weird. Sure, it's something that you're going to be able to block with, but it never gets an attack off because your opponent's going to have this wide board. Neither of you are really playing removal. I kind of like the Abyssal I hear. I don't think there's any punish that can come out for this.
Well, and here's... this matchup I feel is really bad for Garretz. There is actually, besides Boxtopus, besides all the... That's the name besides Boxtopus. These names, man, they're getting worse and worse every set. So Boxtopus is the 2/4 challenger that deals 3 damage to itself. That is the only thing that can actually pick off these elusive units in this deck, which is really unfortunate for Garretz. I feel like this is a really bad matchup because of that. And even if there's a lot of heal on the side of Garretz, I'm pretty sure we can just do more damage than Garretz can heal. Is that what we're seeing this turn?
Yeah, there's no Hush in Garrett's deck. So he really cannot interact with these elusives at all. And as we had mentioned, no Tom Kench. He can't even try to eat these.
So there is Shakedown. That was another thing that he could have used to give him vulnerable, which I do actually love that card, by the way, Shakedown. Maybe talk about that later.
The problem that I have with Shakedown in this deck is most of your units only have 2 attack. There's not a lot that you're actually killing. Your top end, sure, you've got Hunting Fleet, you've got Citrus Courier, but outside of those 2 units and the Boxtopus that you had mentioned, I don't know how many things you're actually getting to kill, but I do think that dealing the 2 damage to your units is probably just going to be worth it. I don't know how these decks have evolved over the course of the last, couple of days. I know that this is something that came out day 1. A lot of people thought about it. I think Riot even sort of pushed it because I do think this was one of the playable decks in the Landmark Lab. But Star Shepherd, this is a card that we saw popping out of a lot of petty officers a couple weeks ago, so you reminded me of the name of it. But I do like it in the Citrus Courier version because it can actually get pretty big, and I think that it does offer up an opportunity to actually kill your opponent. I've never seen this deck win a game before, so I still don't know what the Landmark animation looks like. I don't know if it's realistic for them to actually kill you with the addition of Citrus Courier. I would assume it is.
So here's what we do have in the side deck, on the side of Garret's, though. Pretty much everything to beat elusives. So
yeah, even Solitary Monk comes in.
Like we have 2 Hired Gun we can put in. We have 2 Hush. We have 3 Tom Kench. I guess that could technically, but I don't know if you'll actually side him in. 2 Sheriff Lariat Rose, which is if nobody knows what the heck that is. What happened?
Oh, maybe I'm looking at the other player's side deck.
Yeah, so Sheriff Lariat Rose is the 6 cost, so 6 mana, 6 attack, 5 health. When she's summoned, she grants all enemies vulnerable, and then 2 Riptide. So I imagine most of this side deck is about to get shoved into Garrett's deck. My only question mark is Tahm Kench. So do we get to see the Toad unloaded in this match?
I would assume that we're gonna unlock the Croc. This is definitely a matchup where you can't afford to have.
It's not a crocodile.
And these are, I know, and there are so few, or the units rather in PatPat's deck are going to be so low to the ground that you really should be trying to eat up multiple of them with the Tahm Kench, and it's a very realistic win condition. You know, it is sort of kind of a slow roll on the side of PatPat, at least as far as aggro decks are concerned. This isn't dropping any heavy hitters like the Gangplank or the Jack the Winner that we see out of other Bilgewater decks. You do have a couple of larger elusives, but I think if you can get a Tahm Kench, there's nothing that Pat's going to be able to do to remove that. It should be able to stabilize you for quite some time, because we saw Pat gain a lot of life in that matchup. That Brokeback Protector was going to be able to get a lot of value over the course of the game. You just died a little bit too quickly. So if you can get something like a Tahm Kench, stall that out a little bit more, I think you're in a really good spot.
I think the only thing that he could do against something like Tahm Kench is there is the 3 Nopify and the 2 Deny, and then there's also Twin Disciples to buff the unit up to kill the Tahm Kench when his effect goes off.
I think Twin Disciplines is actually going to come in pretty big as well. Yeah, that Nopify you had mentioned.
Yeah.
Really not a lot to Nopify in the main deck. I think there's actually, there is no card that you can Nopify in the main deck. So keeping them in here for Pat, as we did see it in Mulligan and away, does mean that he's expecting that Tahm Kench to come in.
Yeah. Yep, 100%. The problem with Tahm Kench is even if you are able to, let's say we see the Twin Disciplines come up, which I said Twin Disciples the first time, which I always say.
That is something I ran so often when I started casting Legends of Runeterra.
So Astral Projection, as much as I know you hate that card, Boulevard, that's a really that almost always will get played on the Tahm Kench if it's trying to get the fleeting effect off, which I forget. Yeah. I don't know the name of right now. Still learning those. So that buffs the Tahm Kench up by 4, which usually puts it out of range of any possible, unit actually killing it. So we'll see. I think Pat really just has to be super aggressive. He needs to go with the strategy that, the deck is supposed to have, which is be aggressive, play a lot of elusive units, go face, and see if he can win. But this hired gun early, already coming out, already going to be a problem for PatPat.
And there's no Will of Ionias in Pat's side deck. He is not prepared for something like the Tahm Kench, which, to be fair, I think is reasonable. I would not have expected Tahm Kench to be something that was played in this tournament. It's definitely not something that I would have expected to see more than once. And generally, you can say, okay, this is a deck I don't have a good matchup against. Maybe I need to side deck for it. But if you're only going to see it once throughout the entire tournament, sometimes you just take that loss, if it even is going to be a loss.
Yeah, and I'm kind of thinking of this now, too. I mean, I actually don't mind. I'm curious to see how this series goes in this particular format. I don't mind PatPat's deck choice here because I do think that this all-in elusive strategy is really good in a one-deck matchup. Actually, in this case with Garretz has everything to counter it. So awesome side decking by Garretz, awesome side deck choices. But generally speaking, if you're going all in on this strategy, I don't think most decks are prepared to deal with this many elusive units with their core build. They would need some side deck options.
Yeah. And those side deck options are generally going to get shut down by the Nopify and the Deny Nopify. Yep. I mean, when Legends of Runeterra first launched and you had to play against elusives and you're like, okay, it's an aggro deck. And the first time you go to board wipe them and you got denied, you sort of had to concede the strength of these counter spells in the aggro deck. And, it is a little unfortunate that, it feels like blue-white flyers all kind of wrapped into one where I get the flyers and I also get the counter spells. But that just kind of is what it is. It's been a while since we've actually seen an elusive deck. I think not since the Crimson Disciple nerfs and Noxus Elusive started to become one of the bigger burn decks of the format have we seen a dedicated elusive deck.
And guess what, Boulevard? You're dead wrong. The Toad has been unloaded. It is on the field. It's doing its thing, and we even have an acquired taste in hand. You thought we weren't going to see the Toad today. Yeah, that's right. Or Soraka for that matter. So now we just need Shyvana. I know, it is side deck. So technically, okay, I'll give you the technicality. That it wasn't main deck. Jesus.
I don't know why it's not main deck, but
I don't know.
I mean, I haven't played this deck at all. I don't know how, the kind of matchups that the Tahm Kench is bad in that would make you want to not run it. I mean, as I had mentioned, I think this is a... Oh, okay. got confused because the symbol skill looks like Tom Kench. I thought it was an ability that he was nopifying, and I was like, how many times did we talk about how you can't nopify abilities? Like, what is going on here?
I know, yeah, kind of feels bad, but you know, it's so weird too. Like when you see Ladros' ability, it costs 0, and you're like, wait, why can't I? Why doesn't this work? Damn it! But yeah, it doesn't. You can't do that.
All right, so the Hush coming in on the Green Glade duo, so going to be able to kill that one, but we do still get a draw. Not a great draw. The Solitary Monk didn't come out on turn 3. Instead, we did play the Zed, so that does seem to be something that... I mean, the Zed has worked out pretty well for Pat so far, and does have the option to always play this Solitary Monk a little bit later, but with the Abyssal Eye on field, I don't think the Solitary Monk is ever actually coming down as long as that unit is alive.
Yeah, and we do, interestingly enough, this Zed would kill the Kench with an Acquired Taste, but yeah, see, there is the Astral Projection. I mean, I don't... Okay. All right, so never mind. I'm actually surprised we didn't do it on the Zed, but it looks like we're just prioritizing the elusive because that is the unblockable unit.
Yeah, I mean, we can block the Zed. We can even kill the Zed this turn with that Boxtopus.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't even see this RDT thing. I didn't see the attack token on the side of Garretz there, so that makes a lot more sense now. Ooh, the buffed up Lizard. There we go. This feels awkward playing it. So with the Lizard, I mean, we do have a Twin Disciplines in hand, but it feels like you should never play the Lizard on your opponent's attack turn because you won't actually be able to get 2 attacks off with it.
Well, you're going for lethal this turn.
Just something to note with that Lizard. I'm not crazy about the choice of the Lizard. I understand why it's in here for just more damage on the elusives, but it just feels kind of bad.
This is awkward, though, because, I mean, Pat's is kind of forced into an open attack just by virtue of this Tom Kench existing on the board and the fact that you only have 1 elusive down. You know, yeah, like if you're going to play this Navori Blade Scout, then I don't understand why we played that other elusive at the end of our turn, since that now is just going to get grabbed up by the Tom, who is still going to have 4 HP, not going to be an effective blocker for the Zed. And I actually just noticed that the Boxtopus didn't go in for anything on the previous turn.
Yeah, which was odd. So I don't know if Garretz was expecting the Twin Disciplines at that point.
Well, there was only 2 mana left for Pat.
We do technically have lethal here. We technically have lethal, so it's well, they're probably heal. So I imagine, you know, Guiding Touch would obviously be a pretty big save here.
Guiding Touch actually would not stop the lethal. We're representing 7 damage.
Oh yeah, never mind. We need more than that. And God, I really wish I could see how much mana Garretz had. Those of you watching, turn off your Runeterra deck tracker when you're playing.
Oh, you know you can turn that off, right?
Is that... I can turn that off on his stream?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
If you hover all the way to the right and click that little box, then there's a visible option, and you just toggle that.
Ha-ha! Boulevard, why don't you tell me these things earlier?
I thought you knew.
Yeah, I don't know. I just never... That's happened a lot, too, and I never knew that. I don't know what was it, somebody else, maybe they were watching somebody else's stream. Oh, thank God. Yeah, that was annoying. Sorry, everybody. It's been one of those days. Got rid of it. Apparently, I'm dumb and did not know how to turn that off. I feel like those are more of a pain in the butt than they've actually been helpful most of the time.
Yeah, I just, I actually can't even delete it out of my Twitch. It's just stuck there, and it's like, re-enable it, and I'm like, is there a remove, like, uninstall option?
Wow, and PatPat gonna pick it up there. 2-0. That was insane. This deck, I really like this deck by PatPat, and I'm very excited that he's streaming as well. So this is gonna be a fun day if he makes it.
Oh wow, SJW likes the aggro deck. What a surprise.
Listen, I like aggro decks. Give me a break, all right? All right, PatPat taking it home. Wow. That deck, though. Very excited to see an elusive deck. Bilgewater Ionia, nonetheless, as well. Just doing well here in this tournament. So we're going to, like I said, we're probably going to see PatPat a couple more times. I do think we see 1 or 2 more of his games throughout day 1 here because of the interestingness, if that's a word, of his deck. But as always, everybody, stay healthy, stay positive. I hope shit just works for you, and peace out.